Hello, this is Rocket Man Dan, and today we're going to be going to Minmus. But first let's upgrade the R&D department so the Kerbals can retrieve surface samples. There we go, it's a big chunk of cash, but we can spare it because we're going to be using the same ship design as last time. So what I'll do is I'll get the ship in orbit and I'll meet you there. Okay, so now we've made it into orbit, what we're going to do is press L1 and R1 simultaneously to go to the map screen. There we go. Going to zoom out with L2. And we're going to press X on Minmus and set as target. This will give us our ascending nodes and our descending nodes. Because if you look clearly, you can see Minmus is in an eccentric orbit. And we've got to match that eccentricity if we want to get to Minmus easily, that is. So at our descending node or ascending, it doesn't matter, just whichever one you're coming up to next, we're going to plan a maneuver and we're going to cycle through with R1 and cycle through these options with L1, and we want to be going normal because we are descending through the orbit of Minmus, so we want to burn in the opposite direction to try and match that eccentricity. So I'm just going to press forwards on the left analog stick now and bring that up, and if we just press square on our descending node, it'll show us what it's going to be after the burn. We want to try and get that down to as close to 0 as possible, but it can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're wanting to do it all in one go. So just have a little mess around. Oh, there we go. That should be about perfect. L1 and R1 again to go back to the other screen. There we go. And now we're just going to roll on over to where our maneuver is going to be. It's going to be a 24-second burn. So let's just roll on over now. And I don't think we've got 24 seconds left in this engine, but we'll see. If not, we can stage midway, that's no problem. There we go. Try and get on that maneuver as much as possible. That'll really help you out. There we go. About there should be fine. Now what we're going to do is press X on the orange line and press warp to next maneuver. Now remember, this only warps you to a minute before your maneuver. Not a minute before you've got to start burning, but a minute before your maneuver. Here we go. We're 54 seconds away from the maneuver. I'm going to roll back into place again because I left it in the prograde marker. And when this gets to 12 seconds, which is exactly half the time of the burn, 12 seconds before the maneuver, I'm going to start burning because you want to give half your thrust before and half after. So we're about there, I think. Let me just fast forward this. About there's fine, and start the burn. We might in fact do it on this one tank. Just try and keep on that maneuver as best you can. It can be a little bit tricky without maneuver hold, but it's well worth staying on it, or the best way you can do anyway. Okay, now we've sorted out that inclination, making sure the periapsis hasn't gone back inside the atmosphere. We're going to have Minmus set as target. Put it at about 12 o'clock on your screen there. I'm going to add a maneuver with X and add maneuver. I'm going to cycle through with R1 and we're going to press forwards on the left analog stick for prograde. And we just keep pushing it out. It's about 950 meters per second to get to Minmus, somewhere out there I seem to remember. Try not to go too fast. Oh, we've got us closest encounters there. So let's just move the orbit round again. Cycle back through with R1. And just see when the best time to leave is. There we go. I'm just going to give it a touch more prograde. And cycle back through again. There we go. We're going to click on Minmus and focus view. Zoom in with R2, and now we can adjust our maneuver. So let's see what happens if we bring the maneuver further away from us. Yeah, we do get closer. There we go. Oh, and it's coming back on itself now. Oh, we're quite equatorial as well. But we'll bring that closer in a mid-course correction. What I'm going to do now is turn on over to the other screen and roll round to my maneuver node. It estimates a 56-second burn. But this engine will be going very shortly after. I'm estimating about a 3-minute burn. So about 1 minute 30 seconds before my maneuver, I'm going to start burning. Okay, let's focus back on our vessel, and I'm going to warp to about here. Let's see, 27 minutes. Yeah, that's great. Okay, I'm going to turn over to my maneuver now. I'm going to start burning about now. There we go. It's actually a 2-minute 30-second burn. So at 1 minute and 15 seconds, I shall resume burning. There we go. There we go, we're on to its final stage now. But it's not that final, because we have got these radial tanks still. This is a lot of fuel in this engine. Plenty enough to get us to Minmus and back again. There we go. Let's just look what it looks like on Minmus. I think we did a little bit of an overburn there, but that's fine. Oh, that's perfect. 390,000 periapsis. So what I'll do is I'll travel to... Actually, I'll give it a little bit more prograde because that doesn't seem to have worked. It won't be much. There we go. That's what it should look like. Gonna add a little bit more prograde again. Perfect. 88,000, even better. And it's still quite equatorial as well. We'll do a mid-course correction to bring that closer and bring it more to the equatorial line. So what I'm going to do is walk to about midway. If you want a bit more control with your mouse here, hold down L1 and move the mouse around as normal. It has a way of slowing it down a bit. There we go. Let's plan a maneuver. We'll set a maneuver for not long away. 19 minutes, that sounds about great. Add maneuver. I'm going to zoom back in and see what we can do. Let's cycle through. Let's give it a touch of anti-normal, which you can think of as down. Be very gentle because it has a way of flying off. It's only points of a meter per second. It won't be a big burn at all. We're going to bring that in a little bit closer as well, so we'll add a touch of prograde. Just ever so slightly. Try and just nudge it into place. The orbital velocities here are tiny. So we want to just try and be as gentle as we can. A little bit hard with an analog stick, but I'm sure we'll survive. About 15,000, that sounds about great. But if you look, it's only 0.6 of a meter per second, which is a 0-second burn. And that's going to be very tricky to deal with. So we're going to go back to the flight screen and do a little something to the engine. I want to tap square on the engine, and if you look just here you'll see the thrust limiter. It's set to 100% of its capability. I'm going to bring that right down, right way on down, 0.65 even. That's great. So now 100% thrust is only actually 0.65 of the actual thrust it's capable of. So we're going to lock over there. Oh, put stability assist on normal. Going to go over to the maneuver, back into the map screen, focus on my vessel. I'm going to warp to the maneuver. There we go, we're at the maneuver, and I'm going to focus back on Minmus. Line myself up with the maneuver. I'm just going to give it just a touch of throttle, just see how it goes. It's only a small amount, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep udging that up with L1 and up on the D-pad. Perfect. Okay, let's have a look what our new periapsis is going to be. 15,000, that's great for Minmus. You don't want to be going much lower than that. It has got some quite high peaks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fast forward and warp till I'm in Minmus's sphere of influence. Here we are in Minmus's sphere of influence. Try saying that 3 times fast. And I'm going to collect some science now. Okay, I've collected my science. Let's go back into the map screen and plan a maneuver around Minmus. So at the periapsis, we're going to plan a retrograde maneuver. I'm going to add maneuver, cycle through with R1, and pull down on the left analog stick. There we go. It'll only be a short burn, because Minmus hasn't got as much mass as Kerbin or the Mun, so the orbital velocity is so much smaller. I'm going to turn my SAS on, because it turned off as I got out to do an EVA report. I'm going to lock to retrograde. There we go. Also, don't forget, turn your engine back up to 100% thrust. That's great. And I estimate it to be something like a 20-second burn maybe. Here we go. Let's just get an updated time on that thrust. Just give it a little bit of touch. Yes, it's on 22 seconds. So let's fast forward till 11 seconds before the node. There we go, start the burn. And that's good enough, I believe. Just give it a touch more. Just till you see those periapsis and apoapsis markers starting to change place. That's great. Now Minmus is really quite easy to land on, because it's got these bits here, the sea, and that is basically at sea level. So what I'm going to do is fast forward time until my path intersects with one of these flat areas. Here we go, we've got a nice flat patch there to do a landing in. So what we're going to do is we're going to come round to about here and do a small retrograde burn so our path intersects with one of these flat areas. Now don't forget, all the time you're falling, Minmus is still spinning, so you might not land exactly where you thought you was going to. There we go. Let's just give it a touch of retrograde. Beautiful. We can grab some science whilst we're up here. There we go. Always remember to turn on your SAS when you get back in your vehicle. Let's go to the map screen, and I'm just going to fast forward on down through the descent. But like I said last time, I don't advise doing this, as it's been known to cause quite a few unplanned disassemblies. There we go, isn't that beautiful? Let's lock to retrograde again and extend our landing gear. L1 and square to extend your landing gear. Now if you see, we're at 5,200 meters above sea level. Now these flat bits like this are great because they are basically sea level. It might be 3 or 4 meters above sea level. But that's okay, it's a lot easier than landing anywhere on the Moon. So I'm just going to give it a small retrograde burn and try and bring down that orbital velocity. There we go, now that's it, we're basically falling straight down now. On the nav ball here, you've got this little window, and if you press X on it with your cursor open, you can get your surface speed. So what I'm going to do is just fast forward down a bit, because on Minmus there's not a lot of gravity, and it can be quite a slow descent. Remember, turn yourself round, so you're just like you are on Kerbin, with the north marker at the bottom of the nav ball there. Helps a lot when it comes to taking off. The gravity on Minmus is very low here, so we don't have to worry about a speed too much. I'm going to wait till that says about 500 on the altimeter there, and then I'm just going to burn off quite a bit of this speed. Beautiful. You can see a shadow there. Keep an eye on your shadow. Lets you know exactly how far away from the floor you are. Just bring that speed down a bit more and get ready to burn off all this speed. You don't need much thrust. Minmus hasn't got much gravity at all. There we go. Nice bit of bounce as well. Minmus hasn't got much gravity at all. I've heard it said you can even use your EVA jetpack to get into orbit. Oh, and there's Kerbin coming over the horizon there. Let's just wait for this to stop bouncing, and then we can do our science, plant our flag, and go home. Okay, let's go and plant our flag. Remember, it's X to let go, L1 and circle to turn on your RCS. There we go, Jeb's going for a nice little fly. If you turn off the RCS, you can just test this gravity by getting Jeb to do a little jump with the X button. Look how high he goes. I think I'll just turn on the RCS now, just to get down a bit quicker. Okay, let's plant a flag. And back in the vessel time now. Okay, because we've got so much fuel left in this design, I'm going to do a little bit of biome hopping. Which means I'm going to try and get a little bit of science data from about here or so, maybe over here. Just see how it goes, and I'll return to the flats to show you how to get back home. Okay, we're roughly back where we started. Right, let's get orbital. We're going to just go straight up for a second or so, and then tilt right over to the 90-degree marker, and go in the map view to do this. Make sure your SAS is turned on. There we go, and we're just going to try and tilt over almost straight away, keeping an eye on that apoapsis. Doesn't take long on Minmus. There we go, see, that's perfect. Okay, Let's warp on up towards apoapsis after we've made a manoeuvre node. Add a manoeuvre, and we're just going to add a touch of prograde just so we can get into a circular orbit. I'm going to just click on prograde, and that's only a 2-second burn. Minmus hasn't got much gravity at all. So let's warp to that next manoeuvre. Okay, that time warp's completed itself now. Let's just fast forward on up. Perfect, such small burns on Minmus, you don't need much fuel at all. Right, now we want to get back home. Let's go back into the map screen and look where Kerbin is. Kerbin's there, and we want to be burning, so our new path goes in the opposite direction of Minmus's orbit, meaning we'll get a retrograde effect on Kerbin. So I'm just going to plan a manoeuvre about here and just hit prograde. You can see what it's going to do there. Let's just bring it on round. There we go. Add some more prograde. Oh, that just shows an intercept with the mun if we wanted it. I'm just going to keep hitting prograde. I want to get down to about 35,000. So I'm going to stay locked to prograde. It's only a 12-second burn. We'll still probably keep these tanks. Okay, I think we're going to fast forward on to this next manoeuvre and burn it there. So click on the orange line and warp to next manoeuvre. There we go. You might want to just manually fast forward this yourself because it's such a short burn. But be careful, it's very easy to overgo the mark. About half the time before and half the time after. For these last few meters per second, I'm just going to go into the map screen, turn off that manoeuvre, look at my periapsis on Kerbin, and just burn very slowly. There we go, perfect. And now what we can do, if we've done all the science, press somewhere on your new orbit path once you've left Minmus's sphere of influence, and press warp here. There we go, that time warp's complete now. Let's have a look at our current altitude. We're still 1.8 million meters away from Kerbin. So I'm just going to fast forward that on through. Okay, let's get rid of all this. Let's go into stability assist and go to either normal or anti-normal. Normal seems fine. We don't want any of this hitting us on the way down. So we're going to put this stage in a new stage because we don't need to get rid of everything. We don't need to separate everything, so there we go, and now it all stays together as one. L1 and triangle brings up the radial menu, and we want to hit retrograde. There we go, Jeb's nice and happy. Hopefully we should earn another reputation star, giving us abilities to maybe hold radial, or hold normal, hold anti-normal, anti-radial. But what we're really working towards is holding manoeuvre node. That's one of the best abilities you can get in Kerbal Space program. Once you're 4 or 5 stars, I can't quite remember. But I'll just fast forward on through the descent for you. And then I'll see you when we've touched down, or splashed down, we'll see how it goes. There we go, looks like we're going to splash down in the ocean nice and safely for Jeb. Then we can return to the Space Centre and find out how much that little jaunt to Minmus earned us. Recover vessel. Hey! That little jaunt to Minmus earned us 1,551 science points. And Jeb earned another star. There we go. Okay, next time we should be heading to Duna, Kerbin's analogue of Mars. Okay, I've been Rocket Man Dan. Thanks very much for watching. If you'd like to like, share and subscribe, maybe leave me a comment, that'd be great. See you next time.